Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today we are back for my April reading wrap up. I read 9 books this month. It was 7 physical, 2 on Kindle, so I'm still a tiny bit behind on my reading goal for the year, having only read 9, when the goal every month is 10. We're gonna have to try and catch that up at some point soon, but anyway, yeah, I read 9 books. Let's just get into what I read this month. We started off the month finishing the Mindfuck series by St. Abbey, so I've counted that as one book, even though there's 4 technical novellas, and I've counted the first one as a separate book. If we count the 4 books as separate, then I am definitely on track, but that sounds a bit annoying to sort, and I don't know what I would give each book individually, so I've given the series as a whole 4 stars. I've got my reading journal here, so I would say it's a 3 chili peppers. There's a few scenes. The first book's probably the spiciest as a whole. There's still more spicy scenes. The first book's the spiciest, and then it gets more. It's more towards the plot of the serial killing, if that makes sense. So yeah, every novella ends on a cliffhanger, so it makes you really want to go straight into the next book every single time. I just love the series. I thought Lana was iconic. I thought she was so relatable. And I just felt so bad for her as a human being. She's definitely the villain that you're rooting for. At the end of the day, she's a serial killer. But the people she's killing and the reason she's killing, I completely agree with. I'm sorry, but yeah, so I'm really happy with how the series ended, and I just thought it was a great series. It really kept me hooked, and that's all you want, really. You want a book that you wanting to be reading, Okay, next I read The Fake Mate by Lana Ferguson. This one I rated a 3.5 stars, and I would say it's a 3.5 chili pepper rating. Obviously, this book is Omegaverse. I think a lot of people's introduction to Omegaverse is Bride or this book, or a combination of the two. A lot of people started reading this book after reading Bride. Here's the thing. Bride I haven't read, but I know it's a werewolf man and a vampire girl. Okay? Anyone who does not... I'm quite well acquainted with the Omegaverse because of AO3. It's not something that I love as a trope, I guess, as a plot point, as a whatever. Purely because anything with Mpreg I can't get on with, but but Omegaverse as a whole, generally it's something I can enjoy if it's done right and there's no Mpreg making it weird. So I already, as far as Omegaverse goes, this is tame. This is very tame as far as Omegaverse goes, and I can imagine Bride even tamer so, because only one party is a wolf. A lot of people, look, Omegaverse is not for everyone. That is just a given. And I think a lot of people found the whole heat thing a bit much. I think the spice lovers will probably like the heat thing, but if you're not a spice lover, you're gonna be like, this is too much. But anyway, yes, I loved the story. I love a good workplace romance. I love a good fake dating trope, which is obviously what we've got here. The only thing is, and I have completely forgotten his name, Noah, he has 0 personality. He has the personality of cardboard. So that brought the rating down for me. But the story was fun. The writing was really easy to read and easy to get into, and it was just... I think I read this in 2 days. So it's not that I didn't enjoy it. It's just at the end I thought, Noah, I wouldn't be able to pick him out of a crowd of personalities. Or even looks-wise. I just felt like Noah was very boring. I rated this 3.5 stars because Noah brought the rating down a bit. But it was fun, and I think it's a good introduction to Omegaverse. It's nothing too wild. If you're wanting real Omegaverse, AO3, pick your fandom. Could be a fandom you're not even in, just pick one. Trust me. Okay. Then I read Magnolia Parks, and I rated this one 4 stars. There is 0 spice in this book, and it didn't necessarily even need it, to be honest. I did a couple tabs, literally mostly just from the front of the book, For my favourite quote, I've put down his voice. I remember it sounding like Christmas morning and my birthday and Valentine's Day and home, and I loved him. I love that quote. It was cute. And then there's the standard like cut me and I'd bleed him. Like there was some. This book is so lyrically written, which I really really enjoyed, but it is a little bit repetitive in that sense as well. I feel like everyone knows what this book is. Everyone describes it as Gossip Girl in London high society, and as a Gossip Girl lover, I would say that's absolutely the case. But while we love Chuck and Blair and they're not the most healthy couple, I hate Magnolia and BJ. I am just going to say it. I hate Magnolia and BJ as a couple. I am not rooting for them in the slightest. I want Magnolia to be with Tom because Tom is a good man and they actually work together and they actually care for each other. I hate Magnolia and BJ. I think Magnolia brings out this like lack of self-control in BJ, and I think BJ just brings out the worst in Magnolia. So I'm not rooting for them in the slightest, I'm sorry. Also, his name is BJ, and that is a choice. His name is like Bartholomew or something like that. Like, you chose your nickname to be an acronym for a sexual act. I'm sorry, no. Your name is BJ. No. I did really enjoy it and I will continue with the series. I also quite like, so this book, there's no plot. You're just following characters' lives. And because the characters are so fleshed out, it's actually like very, it's like, it feels like there's plot almost. I don't know, it's just very easy to read and easy to follow. Even though there's no plot, it's easy to be invested in and want to keep reading. Magnolia Parks I rated 4 stars. I then went on to Daisy Hates, which I rated 3.5 stars. So I rated it less, even though couple-wise, I actually like Daisy and Christian, and I do hope they end up together. I really like them as a couple, and I think they're really well suited to each other, and I think they bring out the best in each other. That being said, Daisy's chapters, what is with the references at the bottom? What's with the references being put in it all? I don't think they add anything. They're distracting. They are completely unnecessary. You could honestly read the whole book without them, and I think if it's the same in the next Daisy Hates book, I am just going to ignore them and not bother reading the references. I hated it. If it was adding, the fact that she's meant to be like a genius, if it was adding anything intellectually to the book, fair enough. But half the time it's just like exclamation marks or like or not or like or is it, like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's just stuff that's really not necessary. Like here, this one, a lot but not everything. Like, that's not adding anything to the story. Or like the ... ish, that's not adding anything to the story. Like, I don't want that. So that brought the rating down for me, because every time I read Daisy's chapters I was like, I do not like this. But story wise, this one has a bit more of a plot. It's still basically characters in their lives, but there is real things happening in the background, whereas with Magnolia it's mostly just the relationships between people and things like that, whereas this is like something like real shit is actually happening. So I enjoyed that, and like I say, I think Christian and Daisy should be together, and I really hope they can figure it out. I also would say this one is less lyrically written than Magnolia Parks. It's not quite as like he breathes and I died, like a million deaths type thing, you know, like she's not like, they're not like obsessed with each other to that level where it's like, I don't know, it's just not as much poetry, I guess. But yeah, read that one. I also found with Daisy Hates, actually, I didn't feel like I wanted to pick it up as much as with Magnolia Parks, so I didn't go on straight to the next Magnolia Parks. Actually, I then did a reading fantasy books for a week video, which will be coming up after this video. So first I read Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldree. This one I rated 4 stars. I think if you're wanting to get into high fantasy, where there's like multiple different like creatures and it's set in a different time and it's all very kind of like all very Lord of the Rings, where it's all like, it's not just like the humans and the fae or the humans and the vampires, it's like humans and 50 million different creatures. That's like what I class as like high fantasy, where there's like a whole other, I don't know. Anyway, I think if you're wanting to get into high fantasy, it's a good start. Or if you just want to get into fantasy in general, because this one was very cozy. This to me felt like almost like you're reading a cozy farming sim, but instead of it being a farming sim, it's like a cafe simulator, I guess. But like, where it's like you go through the levels, you're like collecting things you need to then make your cafe better. And that's kind of what this was. But I loved that because that's the kind of game I love, like to play in my like myself. There was no spice in this one. I also forgot to say there was no spice in Dizzy Hates. Really, it's like mentioned, but no spice. In this one, no spice. Yeah, it was just really cozy. It was a good time to read, and I will be reading Bookshops and Bone Dust when it comes out in paperback. Then I read Girl Goddess Queen by B. Fitzgerald. I think this is her debut novel. Obviously, if you can hear noises, it's my chair making noise. Anyway, I think this one's a debut novel, but I'm not entirely sure. This is a Hades and Persephone retelling, and I rated it 4.5 stars. I loved it. It's got no spice. It's kind of mentioned, but yeah, I think it's funny. It's a YA, I'm pretty sure. So, but anything to do with like, especially Greek gods, not having spice makes no sense because like everything was about like partying and sex and war and just everything 18 plus pretty much. But yeah, this was really good. The reason like that made me want to read this is because Jennifer Saint on the front says it's an unexpected, meticulously researched, empowering rom-com, and it does give rom-com vibes, but the romance is like a side plot, and the main plot is Persephone becoming like figuring out who she is, actually allowing herself to be herself instead of like playing up to someone else's expectations and rules, and like changing herself for the sake of someone else to keep herself safe. And it's about her realizing she's a lot more powerful than she is, and she's a lot more capable than she is. And yeah, it's very empowering. It was a great story. It was a really, really good story, and it kind of ended as if there's gonna be another book, which honestly I would love. So I don't know if there is or not, but I would be happy if there was. Also, Hades was great. I loved him. He was basically just our arts and crafts king, and I loved him. He was a soft boy at heart. Persephone is definitely scarier than Hades in this, which I'm all for. Next, I read What Lies Beyond the Veil by Harper L. Woods. This one I rated 2.75. It was not a 3 because as I kept thinking about the book, I was like, no. But I didn't hate it as much as I hated The Love Hypothesis, so I had to rate it slightly higher. This one has a 3 chili spice rating. My main problems, if you want to know probably like more in depth with like possible spoilers, it will be in the vlog, but I hated the man in this. He just gives gaslighting, manipulative, dickhead energy, and I'm not about that. I think it took me a while to get into this book, and then I wasn't really that bothered about picking it up. It literally took me like 5 days to read, and it's not a particularly thick book, and I was off for like 3 of those days. Yeah, I just felt it was like 65% camping, 25% high stakes. Okay, and then like 10% smart. I'm not bothered about this book. I might continue it, I don't know. I want to see if I have certain theories that I want to know if are correct. And the second book is on Kindle Unlimited, so I might read it on there. But let's just say I'm very glad I didn't pick these up in my last video, the bookstore vlog, where they had books 2 and 3. I'm very glad I didn't bother picking them up. So yeah, I might continue. I probably won't. I don't recommend personally. Then on my Kindle, I continued is it The Maid? Yeah, I continued the Maid series. So the first one was The Sweetest Oblivion, which I read. When did I read that? I read that in February. So this one was The Maddest Obsession. I liked this one a lot more. I rated it 4 stars and a 3.5 spice rating. This one I just liked a lot more. You're following Gianna and Christian, who you do meet in the first book. The first half of the book is like years in the past, and the second part is like the present time. So it's kind of like taking place through some of what happens in The Sweetest Oblivion. Yeah, it was just really good. I really enjoyed it. It kept me gripped. It was just easy to read. I read it pretty quickly. I think I read like a whole 60% in a day, while also like pottering and like cleaning my bathroom and doing things around the house. I just really enjoyed it. So I definitely will be reading the last book in the series based on this one, because I actually enjoyed this one a lot more than The Sweetest Oblivion. I just felt like while it was a slow burn, it was giving you enough, whereas the last book was so much of a slow burn and it wasn't giving you anything really, that it just didn't feel very believable. But this literally takes place over like either six to 8 years or something like that, so it's quite a long slow burn. But yeah, really enjoyed it. And then the final book I read was My Killer Vacation by Tessa Bailey. This one I rated a 4 stars and a 3 chili pepper rating. This was so fun. This is exactly what I needed. I started to feel a bit slumpy, even though I enjoyed The Sweetest Oblivion. No, even though I enjoyed The Maddest Obsession and felt that was easy to read. This was just like, I tried to read other things and they were just too much. Whereas this was just really easy to read, really fun, not serious. Just you could sit down and, you know, read it for a good like hour or two at a time. Like, yeah, I really enjoyed it. Obviously as well, it's fast paced. It's not even 300 pages. It's like 290. So it was really fast paced. It is very insta love / insta lusty. So if you don't like that, you're not gonna like this. But under the circumstances, it kind of made sense, because it is kind of like a high stakes. It's like a murder investigation going on, and then like it's like fourth proximity. But yeah, it was just fun, unserious. I liked the main guy. Yeah, it was exactly what I needed, and I enjoyed it, so I rated it 4 stars. So my overall stats for the month is I read 3,591 pages in total. I had 1 2-star read, 2 3 stars, 6 4 stars, and 0 5 stars, unfortunately. I read 6 romance books, 2 of which were like a dark / mafia, and 3 fantasies. 6 paperbacks, 1 hardback, and 2 on Kindle. Although technically one of the paperbacks I also listened to a little bit. So like it was like kind of audiobook as well. Yeah, so I did read less than last month by like over 500 pages, I think. Yeah, by about 505 pages, I read less than last month. So, yeah, a lot of the books I read were shorter, to be fair. I think the biggest book was That Girl Goddess Queen, which was roughly like 500 and... it was nearly 600 pages. According to this, it's 474, and I do not believe that. That's not 474. It is only 400... How is that 400 pages? I just don't agree with that thickness being 400 pages, but Magnolia is also actually quite thick. Yeah, anyway, that is it for this video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, give the video a thumbs up. Subscribe down below if you haven't already. My last video was my TBR jar picks my May reads. It's a very short, like only 6-minute video. Give that a watch if you want to see what I'm going to read next month, and if I actually read those books, you'll have to stick around and see my May wrap up. Yeah, so subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!